I'm Michael Sperling, Associate Provost for Interdisciplinary, Distributed, and Global Learning. And this is our 28th UN Pathways program over the last 2 years. 2 years and 1 month. We want to especially thank the Record and Herald News, who is a co-sponsor of this event, and we really appreciate their support in many ways, and hope that we'll continue in a long partnership to help bring you these events. I'd like to introduce Ambassador Motoc. He's a career diplomat. He served as State Secretary for European Integration and Multilateral Affairs from 2001 to 2003, before being appointed to his current position as Permanent Representative of Romania to the United Nations. He began his diplomatic career in 1991 at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where he's held several posts, including Director of the European Union Department and Deputy Director of the Human Rights Department. Last year, he led the Romanian delegation for accession talks to NATO and has been President of the Interdepartmental Commission for Romania's accession to NATO since 2001. He also served as President of the National Security Authority, National Coordinator of the Southeast Europe Stability Pact, and Vice Chairman of the Executive Council of the Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. As I said, he's been Romania's permanent representative to this country and previously, not to this country, to the United Nations, and previously was permanent representative to the Netherlands. And quite significantly, he's currently representing Romania on the Security Council at the United Nations. Ambassador Motoc holds a JD from the University of Bucharest School of Law and an LLM in Public International and Comparative Law from George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Before his diplomatic career, he worked as a magistrate. I want to say that we are so pleased and honored that Ambassador Motoc has taken the time to be with us. He has agreed to both speak to you tonight and after that to take questions from the audience. So please, as you listen to his talk, think of things that you might want to ask him, comments, ideas that it raises, and we can entertain those after he speaks. So I introduce Ambassador Motoc.
Good evening. I'm sure you won't recognize the person described in the CV that was so flatteringly presented by Dr. Sperling, the provost, in my humble person. But that's me. Of course, I was the product of some exceptional opportunities in the context of change in Romania in general, in the diplomatic service in particular. President, dear students, I'm extremely glad to have this opportunity at Fairleigh Dickinson University, the UN Pathway series. I think there is hardly a better place than New York and the New York headquartered United Nations for taking a bird's-eye view on one country's stand in world affairs. There is no better place for identity checks and testing one nation's value DNA. I'm going to try to provide you with an overview of our current foreign policy priorities, starting from the regional plane, since the integration of Romania to both NATO and the European Union is probably the most defining trend and the most defining feature in our foreign policy concerns today. And then I'm going to try to live up to the name of this series, the UN Pathway Lecture Series, and end up at the organization, the global organization where I'm currently working. I would say that the times we're living are particularly challenging for Romania. This is an era of unprecedented opportunity for her. In 3 weeks' time, we are going to mark here, as well as in Washington, in Brussels, in the 7 Central and Northern European capitals, and in many other locations worldwide, the formal entry of Romania and 6 other nations as new NATO members. 1st of May, 10 countries from the same political and historical universe and background as Romania are joining the European Union, with Romania and Bulgaria on their way to concluding accession talks this year, signing accession treaties next year, and following suit in 2007 with membership, in what is already called now an European Union 27 plus. Our pathway to getting there, to EU membership in 2007, is codename 040507, 04 standing for conclusion of negotiations, 05 for signature of the treaty, and 07 accession proper. It sounds James Bond style, and it's easy to remember. It's a soundbite, however, that is very much providing these days the beat of the nation. We come a long way down to these moments of achievements. First, we had to take up the huge bet of practically reversing history under all major counts. Going back from a centralized state planned to a free market economy, and from a totalitarian regime, you could imagine an Orwellian-style open-air prison, back to a functioning democracy. A sub-challenge here was for Romania to resist the temptation of succumbing to what is perceived as a largely idyllic portrait of her interwar democracy and rather flourishing economy. In those days, the national currency of Romania was, believe it or not, stronger than the Swiss franc, and embarking instead on a process of directly connecting ourselves to the 21st century digital era politics and economics. For that to come true, Romanians had, second, to recuperate self-confidence as a nation and as individuals after long decades of severe value confusion, history rewriting, and lip service paid to an ideological experiment which, being delusional in itself, was seen belied constantly by everyday realities. The most accurate indicator that self-confidence is back has to do, in my mind, with people becoming again proud of being Romanians and stating that openly. And believe me, until recently, you didn't in Romania hoist your national flag in front of your house the way you do this here in New Jersey. It has to do with people looking out not only to making their lives, their fortunes abroad, but home as well. And if they are already elsewhere, it has to do with either remaining proud of their origins or otherwise thinking of coming back. Third, we had to make sure that the Western world is able to rediscover us. We had at all times been perfectly aware, of course, that Romania was at the very center of Europe as we see its geopolitical extension today, that it was the second largest of the acceding countries after Poland, and in any case the biggest of Southeast European nations, that its location was exceptionally strategic in the sense that it stretches out as a last resort frontier of stability and loyalty in front of many arches of instability and in the face of some of the most gruesome challenges to security in contemporary history. We had been aware at all times of all that. It took, however, a tremendous amount of persuasion and a series of dramatic events in the world, in particular the September 11 heinous attack on America, to put those featured assets of Romania in their true perspective. I'm definitely not among those who would like to rather assign our countries joining the Western institutions to the 9/11 events, to the 9/11 awakening. This would be tantamount, in my judgment, to assigning America's role in World War II to Pearl Harbor. Certainly, oftentimes history works with such magnifiers, but what they only do is bringing into broad daylight profound realities. Fourth, there had to be a recipe to make it possible for our countries in general, for Romania in particular, to leap forward to the performance level in the European Union countries.